Started with a penny stock, and now my account rocks. They all hate my picks, but look at that uptick coming to my penny shack. These stocks always got your back, and now it's time for trash that makes cash. All right, let's start off with GTE.
I don't know if I'm ready.
Can I get a look at that
Yeah.
uptick one more time?
But look at that uptick.
And you got to
Now
go
I'm ready.
really.
Now I'm ready. Now I'm ready. I wasn't ready before. I got 2 upticks. I'm ready to rock. We
You're
got
ready.
confirmation uptick. Let's roll.
It is our Monday segment where stocks that are under $5. Here's some requirements we have. Here's the simple one: under $5, enough volume to trade behind it, and an interesting idea that we're going to bring to this show on Mondays at the end of the show. Marky, what do you got? What's first?
Listen, I buy the inflation argument. I do. I buy the inflation argument. It influences about just everything I do. And I buy sentiment behind commodities. And I got a lot of good picks. And I'm going to focus on commodity area sector today on these picks because I think there's some good ones. Let's go to GTE. And there's a lot of ways you can play energy. A lot of ways you can play energy. GTE is a very popular on message boards little oil producer here. I particularly like it. And when I look at energy picks in the cheaper sector, I want to see pullback situations. I want to see consolidation situations. I want to see companies with high volatility because that's what I do. And the option chains have been very, very robust. You think that's a dollar stock. How could it have a liquid option chain? The option chain is insanely liquid, for a stock this price. And so when I look at these energy companies that are in the cheaper range, I want to see consolidations like we did last week. Still hasn't broke out, but it's still hanging that on KOS that we had last week. Or I want to see stocks that are attempting to run and then pulling back GTE fits the criteria of what I look for in these plays. The breakouts, like we had a couple weeks ago, really solid. Gets ahead of itself, pulls back, comes back to a nice little formation that can give you a good entry point. GT is my first trash that makes cash today.
Okay, I'm looking a little bit into the company. Obviously, they do exploration and production in oil and gas. You got to love the trend, the chart. We are heading into earnings here. Does that concern you, Mark?
Not on oil companies, it doesn't.
For you particularly, that does not. Obviously, so then we're not talking swing trade because you're not going to swing trade.
Oh, I'm not swing trading. I mean, I believe in the 2021 theme of oil. I'm there, like for me, I have a lot of things in oil uncovered, which for me is like almost blasphemy.
You're striking?
World. Yeah, like I'm going to take advantage of upward price appreciation in oil companies. I get called out all the time on stuff, and normally I'm happy with that. I'm not going to be happy if I get called out 6 weeks into what could be a really nice trend in oil stocks this year.
So you're looking more position style here, Chucky?
Everything I do in oil and every one of these stocks today is because I got 2 oil picks and I got 1 uranium pick. And it's all position trade.
And I did participate in your cash for trash or trash for cash, whatever we're calling this segment. I just hear trash, but whatever we're calling this segment, I did participate in it today. I gave it a college effort. I did. I gave it 2 upticks, got me to participate. I got a couple energy plays as well. So I know you have 1 more energy play. I have 2. Do you want to lay out your energy, have me lay out my 2 energy, and then just have a discussion on the 4?
Yeah, let's do it. The other one I have, ticker symbol IO. Now, IO is Ion Geophysical. They provide equipment and software and seismic processing services. So they're in the equipment and services aspect of oil, but they provide some specialized services. Now, once again, I love, and this is a pattern I've seen in penny stocks a lot. I love the consolidation, breakout, pullbacks. Very, very common because in this area where things are so volatile, If oil has a couple down days like it did last week, these stocks get killed, right? They just, I mean, the volatility, but comes out to the old breakout level. The price action last week made total sense. It is just the pattern I'm seeing. So you get a pullback to the old breakout level, something I really, really like in these penny stocks. And so it's setting up on that situation there.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you got, Matt?
Okay. I got to kind of fit our kind of our energy theme we're rocking here today, as we've obviously decided we want to talk a little bit about energy. So I specifically looked at energy specifically, and there are a quite a bit of companies that are cheaper, more in that less than $5 range, that maybe don't have the market cap that some of the other stocks do in some of the other sectors, but there was quite a few, and I certainly looked at IO and your first one as well, Chucky. I took a look at two of them, and I picked the first one I picked was a momentum trade. With a weekly, let me bring it back down to the daily a little bit, and it does have earnings coming up as well. But I was looking at that 3-5 handle right here. Good consistent trend coming into it, real consistent, tested above that 3-5 handle before it got beat back down. Good price action today once it got between the rising 20 and the rising 9, which is the exact same level it got here before you had that good upward movement in price. Look at that candle there, very similar to the candle today. You're seeing that same thing here where it dips down into the rising 20, rising 9. And look at that candle with confirmation back up above that 9. Look at that candle. Look at that candle. You got a lot of commonality here. I like the 3-5 breakout. You are right in front of earnings, only a couple days. I don't think if you are believing in the price movement for the year, I don't think it's too much to ask to wait a few days to see how it responds to earnings and then do it. But you're giving up some potential move to the top side.
Just a quick note
go
on
ahead,
QEP. QEP has a sentiment. QEP is actually what got me into penny stocks.
I like the consistency of it, Mark.
I was talking to this trader friend I have, and I was asking her, I was like, so what you been doing? And she's like, don't laugh at me, but I've been trading QEP to the upside, and this was back in November. And I was just
nobody's laughing at her.
And yeah, like, and I was just like, and I'm like, well, what are you doing? And she's like, all of these cheap stocks are taking off. And it got me to look at it. I was like, fine. And I started selling some. I was like, oh, this is a weird world to me. And I sold like 2 March $2 naked puts for like $40 in December. I was like, well, I'll throw them. I know how to manage it.
You can sell the $2 right now and get $1.70.
So QEP is like, that's what got me into penny stocks. It's just a conversation, being open-minded with, and being like, all right. And then I started to go around, look at the patterns. I was like, this whole world is taking off right now.
And I do like the consistency here, right? And that's one of my concerns with trash that makes cash. The penny stocks is random volatility and inconsistencies on technicals. A QEP has consistency. I kind of like it here. Earnings does matter quite a bit, so I would wait for earnings here, but I do understand that your position side does not. The one I do like quite a bit though is what you were talking about, the KOS here, Mark. Your post earnings, number one. Number two, I love the trigger here on KOS. I love the trigger here on KOS.
I added to my KOS position this morning on the dip.
Literally $3 here makes a tremendous amount of sense for me. A breakout, I think you can trigger aggressively. You can trigger conservatively if that is your choice. You got some wicks back here, but not until the 3-5 range, which would be a very good trade from 3 to 3-5. So you do have some wicks over here at 3-5. When you're looking at this on the weekly chart, this is why I like it a lot though. You look at that weekly base here, you got a little bit of a cup and handle type fill. Look at the tight nature of that 3 handle there. A close above 3, look for it to rock to 3-5. Above 3-5, there's not a lot above 3-5 until you get into the 4 and ultimately 5 range. So for me, it's KOS today. I like the potential breakout on KOS. You do have earnings. Obviously, we had to come out, but we're post. Look at $3 movement here. A break of 3, I think, makes some sense. What do you guys think of the break of $3 on KOS?
I love
Well,
this one. Go ahead, Mark.
I loved it last week. I loved the clean. I love and this is one of the things I also, when I really like it, is how much room do I got to run to those pre-COVID lows. I mean, I know it's an arbitrary thing, but it makes sense.
Yeah,
It's something.
but
It's
it's
a guiding
5.
thing I've used for a long time. And it's one of the reasons, like last week when I was talking about how I like XLE in general, you had a lot of room to run on XLE up to those pre-COVID lows. You got a lot of room to run here. The psychology of it makes sense. I just love, I love all of these. There's so many different ways to play oil right now, and I love it. And it's just something that an area I just really like, and I think it's an easy area right now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Couple things, Matt. Can you flash through all 4 for me one more time so we can kind of look at them all?
We got the KOS $3 weekly break. You got the QEP 3.5 weekly break. A little bit of a momentum, style there. You do have earnings. We have IO. Mark's breakout snapback retest that rising 9 EMA. And Chucky, your first symbol was
GTE.
And that's a little bit of let's bring it back down to the daily chart here. A little bit of a bull retrace with the trigger above 1. I would love to see some confirmation above 1. We have earnings kind of in the front.
I'll throw mine in as well. It's also in the oil fields, area. It's NEX, little $4 stock breaking out here.
Mm-hmm.
Looking
and that good. Looks real good on the weekly chart as well. Look at that little high base. Look at that trigger right there, right above that 4 handle. Nothing really until you get into the 5.5 by 7. It's a good break there too.
I think there's a bunch of good little plays here. I think the KOS one, I love the trigger on that one the most. IO, I like it if you're looking for a retracement in the space. And the NEX one, I brought it as a breakout. I think they can all be played. They're all about the same price point.
Well, and honestly, when I did my scanning, I mean, those were the 5 stocks that I wrote down. And I didn't know what you wrote down. I didn't know what Mark wrote down. Those were the 5 stocks that were in some degree of technical perspective that you could trigger. Mm-hmm. The others were literally trash that I should have thrown out with the garbage as they got it.
I even read the KOS earnings report this morning because they did announce today, by the way.
They did announce it was this morning.
You're behind earnings. You got the break. I think there's opportunities in here. If you're looking for trash that can make some cash.
I think if you're not in, you're looking at one of those breakouts or one of those snapbacks that Mark was looking at.
Yeah.
I mean, next you're running pretty aggressive and you can continue to run, but those other ones haven't triggered yet. This one has.
Yeah, I like it.
I like them all. They're all pretty good. I like the breakouts a little bit more than the snapbacks. But that's more of I like breakouts in general more than snapbacks.
So Team Tackle
that has nothing to do with Mark's picks. That's just in general my personal preference.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah. And by the way, this does not preclude anybody out there from taking some of the other energy plays across the entire marketplace and whatnot.
No,
but our requirements are the $5 and lower for this only
segment.
Listen,
if you said energy, I might have a different take. Right.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if you want another, I mean, here's a bonus one. BPT.
He didn't listen to us, did he?
I like the comeback or breakout. I throw a dart right now. I think they all do well. I think they're all winners.
I like the KOS one. I like the KOS much, but they're all. It's hard to see one working and not the others working a little bit. Like if they're going to run, they're going to run. Mm-hmm. But I like the KOS, the cleanliness of that $3 breakout on KOS. That speaks to me.
That's the one that's got the clean trigger. I agree with that.
Well, it's like my daughter. I said, "Hey, honey, what bear are you going to get?" She says, "Dad, we're going to go to Build-A-Bear. I'm going to walk into the store and it's going to speak to me." KOS spoke to me.
Hello.
It didn't say that.
Is it me you're looking for?
That's what it's.
All right.
I can see it in your eyes. I can hear it in your smile.
Okay, that's enough. We're good.
You're You're all I ever
We had our
wanted.
moment.
We're gonna
All
put
right,
a
so
stop
the
loss
other
on that.
area, another area that listen, and Michael Burry's behind the area too. Listen, I love Michael Burry. Michael Burry says something, but we were above Michael Burry on this is uranium. Let's go to UEC. There's a lot of different ways you can play. I think the technical setup on UEC is developing. CCJ is obviously the big one.
I just wanted to
Dirty
make sure
Sexy
you brought
Money.
up Dirty Sexy Money candidate
It's on
CCJ.
Dirty Six Money.
That
Having
is
a good.
part of your tackle trading contract. If you were going to hype pitch uranium, you do it through Dirty Sexy Money there, young man.
And you know, I listen.
But yes, we can come back to your trash for cash. Which
The
one?
psychology behind uranium makes sense from a sentiment standpoint to me. It's an area of the market that hadn't run.
Give me your symbol very quickly.
UEC.
UEC. There.
I hate when Toss does that. It does that
I
all
know.
the time. You know, the psychology behind uranium has made a lot of sense to me coming into the year. A clean energy, all it would take is something to happen and get some steam, and uranium could have a monster year, especially since, you know, when you go back to multi-year charts, I mean, uranium's been beat up for 10 years. So talk about an area of the market. Whenever I have a commodity that's taken a decade off and then starts to have a theme develop behind it, there's a lot of potential. And you know, and so like there's a lot of different ways to play uranium right now. CCJ is the conservative kind of blue chip of uranium mining stocks play, but there's a lot of cheaper ones like Denison Mines, DNN. But I like the technical setup heading into the trash that makes cash segment on UEC right now. You broke out of that $2 range after consolidating for, oh, what was that? A couple months. Lift off. Have a pretty clear trigger. I like UEC. I like uranium in general. Getting some exposure in some fashion to uranium.
Fair enough. A lot of good ideas in there across oil and, you know, a little uranium play right there at the end. We'll see, you know, we'll see if this streak can continue. We've had a lot of good winners out of this in the last month, Mark. Some of those that have actually
You're hot,
pretty good
Chuck.
price appreciation. So
You're hot.
what are some of
No,
the biggest winners you've had?
You're hot.
Well, SOS is the biggest winner. We recommended that at $2.
We don't recommend anything.
Well, we brought it up when it was about $2 and change.
People have free agency. They can make choices for themselves.
Travago has had a nice run. AHT that I've brought up a couple times, pushing the 200-day moving average today, getting natural resistance. First time it's tested the 200-day in like a billion years.
Momo's also testing the 200-day for the first time in a billion years too.
You know, so
Important.
so you know, yeah.